Joe Biden, a man who spent nearly half a century in public service as a senator and vice president, and who endured profound family loss, became the 46th President of the United States on January 20th, 2021. Biden became president at the age of 78, becoming the oldest U.S. president in history. But before Joe Biden could achieve this monumental triumph, his whole life was faced with heartbreaking tragedy and struggles. In today's video, we are going to talk about the life story of Joe Biden and all the struggles that he had to overcome before he became U.S. president. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button so you'll be notified anytime we have a new video. Joe Biden was born in the blue-collar city of Scranton, Pennsylvania on November 20th, 1942, and is the oldest of four siblings. His father, Joseph Biden Sr., worked cleaning furnaces and as a used car salesman. His childhood was not easy as Joe Biden had a debilitating stutter. This was his first life struggle. He was bullied for having a stutter, and this experience profoundly impacted his life. His childhood was difficult, but his parents instilled values of toughness, hard work, and perseverance. His father often said, "Champ, the measure of a man is not how often he is knocked down, but how quickly he gets up." When Biden came home upset that he had been bullied by one of the bigger kids in the neighborhood, his mother would say, "Bloody their nose so you can walk down the street the next day." His family eventually relocated to Delaware in 1955 when he was 13 years old into Mayfield, Delaware, which was a rapidly growing middle-class community that was close to the DuPont Chemical Company. Younger kids would call him Dash and Joe Impedimenta to mock him. This would have a profound impact on his life, and Joe Biden, even today, would remember the names of kids that had bullied him. Joe Biden's mom would always tell him, "You're defined by your courage and redeemed by your loyalty." In fact, his sister Valerie Biden Owens quoted, "Joe has been standing up to bullies his entire life. Joe's stuttering, I think, is one of the principal reasons, a major reason, that he is the good and compassionate and kind man that he is." In order to overcome his speech impediment, he would memorize long passages of poetry and recite them out loud in front of a mirror. Today, Joe Biden still occasionally catches himself stuttering when he is tired and spends a lot of time mentoring children who have a stutter. In fact, he even offered a private phone number to children who are struggling with overcoming stuttering during a CNN news conference. He is an inspiration for others with stutters that it's possible to make it, and has often spoken his heart about his personal experiences with the speech disorder and encouraged people to never laugh at someone for stuttering. In fact, Braden Harrington, a child who was looking to overcome a stutter, said, "I'm just a regular kid, and in a short amount of time, Joe Biden made me more confident about something that's bothered me my whole life." Joe Biden cared. Joe Biden worked hard throughout school, often washing the school windows and weeding the gardens to help his family afford tuition. He attended St. Helena School until he gained acceptance into the prestigious Arkmere Academy. Biden was a strong student and a standout receiver on the football team despite being a skinny kid. He was a member of the student council and also an integral member of an undefeated 8-0 football season for the Ox back in 1960. He would not let his stutter affect his academics, and he would graduate from Arkmere in 1961 and attended the University of Delaware. Biden's first 2 years of college was spent more focused on football, partying, and girls. He did not focus heavily on academics. He, however, did develop a strong interest in politics during the famous John F. Kennedy inaugural address in 1961. During a spring break trip to the Bahamas during his junior year of college, Biden would meet his future wife, a Syracuse University student named Nelia Hunter. After he met his wife and encouraged by his new love, he began to apply himself more fully to studies and was accepted into Syracuse University Law School upon his graduation from Delaware in 1965, and he would get married the following year in 1966. At Syracuse Law School, he would fail a class for failing to properly reference a law review article that would later haunt him in his career. After graduating from law school, Biden returned to Wilmington, Delaware to begin practicing at a law firm and was an active member of the Democratic Party. Joe Biden had 3 children, Joseph, Beau, Robert, Hunter, and Naomi, Amy. Everything was happening faster than I expected, Biden said about his life at that time. And in 1972, Biden would win an upset victory to become the 5th youngest U.S. senator elected in the nation's history. Biden, the hotshot senator-elect, was just 30 and was reflecting on all the big things he would do in Washington during his holiday time, when his wife Nelia, who was also 30, was addressing holiday cards and shared an ill premonition. "What's gonna happen, Joey? Things are too good." Just as Biden's wildest dreams were coming true, he was hit with devastating tragedy and the second major life struggle he had to overcome. One day, while his wife and 3 children were out shopping for a Christmas tree, Joe Biden was setting up office, and Nelia's car had been broadsided by a tractor-trailer. When the phone rang, Biden knew. He would later say, "The call said, my wife was dead, my daughter was dead, and they weren't sure how my sons were gonna make it." Suddenly, the young senator-elect from Delaware found himself a single dad with his 2 surviving kids in the hospital with serious injuries, and he was actually sworn into office at their bedside. Biden was inconsolable and even considered suicide. He recalls, "I began to understand how despair led people to just cash in, how suicide wasn't just an option, but a rational option. I felt God had played a horrible trick on me, and I was angry." Biden even told correspondent Gloria Borger, "I thought about doing it, not doing it. I thought about what it would be like just to go to the Delaware Memorial Bridge and just jump off and end it all." After the accident, Biden had no interest in the Senate anymore, no ambition for anything really. His worldview shrank to taking care of his boys. Eventually, his family helped him get through the tragedy, and his renewed focus on his 2 sons became a calling card in his career. Joe Biden eventually remarried and subsequently began taking the Amtrak to and from Washington, D.C. every single day, which was a 90-minute trip so he could be at home with his boys. He did this throughout his career, and it helped him feel closer to his children. This helped him earn the nickname Amtrak Joe. Biden had a distinguished Senate career and won respect as one of the body's leading foreign policy experts, serving as chairman of the Committee on Foreign Relations for several years. His many foreign policy positions included advocating for strategic arms limitation with the Soviet Union, promoting peace and stability in the Balkans, expanding NATO to include former Soviet bloc nations, and opposing the First Gulf War. He also advocated tougher crime laws. In 1987, Joe Biden had presidential ambitions and decided to run for U.S. presidency, but had to drop out after reports surfaced that he had plagiarized a part of his speech. Biden feared that the scandal would tarnish his reputation and that others would consider him a cheat. But this was actually a blessing in disguise, as he had been suffering from severe headaches during the campaign, and shortly after he dropped out in 1988. doctors discovered that he had 2 life-threatening brain aneurysms. A brain aneurysm is a bulging blood vessel in the brain which can potentially lead to stroke if untreated. This was the 3rd life struggle that he had to overcome. The chances of surviving the surgery were 50%, but the likelihood of waking up with serious deficits was even more concerning. But Joe Biden said, "It surprised me, but I had no fear of dying. I long since accepted the fact that life's guarantees don't include a fair shake." But once again, Biden overcame the odds, 2 successful surgeries, and managed to make a full recovery. He quoted, "The only things that are truly urgent are matters of life and death. I was no less committed or passionate, but I no longer felt I had to win every moment to succeed." This was the 3rd major life struggle he had to overcome. Joe Biden would eventually serve as U.S. Vice President when President Obama selected him to help communicate the message of economic recovery to blue-collar voters crucial to swing states like Ohio and Pennsylvania in the 2008 election. But Joe Biden's struggle with grief and personal tragedy would not end there. In 2015, personal tragedy struck again. Biden's eldest son, Beau, died of brain cancer at the age of 46. But his son, Beau, told him in the hospital, I'd see him and he'd say, "Dad, look at me. Stop looking sad. No matter what happens, I'm gonna be alright, Dad. You've got to look happy. You've got to look strong for the family." Beau's death at a young age was a particular public tragedy since Joe Biden was serving out his last years as vice president at the time. His son, Beau's death in 2015 was a major reason why he decided to pass on the race for president in 2016. Joe Biden later revealed that the pain of losing his son hasn't gone away. He knows Beau is still with him. "What I do is I look at my grandson, his son, and I see him. I look at my granddaughter, I see her, and I know Beau's still here. He's still with me." In addition to his 4 major life struggles, Joe Biden's other son, Hunter Biden, also suffers from alcohol and drug addiction, which he has openly spoken up about. Days before leaving the White House in 2017, President Barack Obama surprised Joe Biden with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, declaring Joe Biden the best vice president America's ever had, a lion of American history. Finally, the inauguration of Joe Biden as the 46th President of the United States took place on January 20th, 2021, marking the commencement of the 4-year term of Joe Biden as president. He became the oldest president of all time. Joe Biden's life was not easy. He failed 3 times in running for president, defeated a debilitating childhood stutter, a 1972 car crash that killed his first wife and infant daughter, overcame 2 brain surgeries, grieved the death of his adult son Beau at the young age of 46, and dealt with his other son's issues with alcohol and drug use. But he never gave up hope in life, and he did not let failure define him. I will leave you with one final quote from President Joe Biden. "Failure at some point in your life is inevitable, but giving up is unforgivable." I hope you enjoyed this video. Our channel focuses on holistic health, meditation, and daily 1% improvement. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so you'll be notified anytime we have more videos. If you want to learn more about Joe Biden's quest for presidency and all the struggles he had to overcome, please check out this fascinating book, Joe Biden, The Life, The Run, and What Matters Now. The link is in the description below. So, what challenges are you going through in life now that you are trying to overcome? How will you use the inspirational story of Joe Biden to motivate you? Drop a comment below and we'll be sure to address it in the next video. Until then, see you next time.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification to the right.